All right, good evening. Let's call this meeting to order. Today is Thursday, May 22nd, 6 o'clock. It's the meeting of the Board of Directors for the Sacramento Metropolitan Fire District. Director Weber, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you call our roll, please?
Yes. Director Sailors.
Present.
Director Stark.
Here.
Director Weber.
Here.
Director Wood.
Here.
Director Costa.
Here.
Director Gould. Director Clark.
Here.
Director Rice.
Here.
Director Jones is absent this evening, and she let us know that ahead of time. Thank you.
Thank you. Now's a Metro Cable announcement. Today's meeting is being recorded. It's going to be available on Comcast, Metro Cable 14. And it will be closed captioned and video streamed at metro14live.saccounty.gov. Today's meeting will replay at 2 o'clock on Sunday, May 25th, and again at 6 o'clock on Monday, the 26th. Can't think of a better way to cap your Memorial Day weekend than by watching this again. Once posted, it'll also be available on demand on youtube.com, Metro Cable 14. Now is the opportunity for the public to discuss matters of public interest within the district's jurisdiction, whether they're on or not on the agenda. Do we have any speakers?
I have no speaker cards. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak? And anyone in the Zoom world, if you wish to speak, please use the raise your hand feature. No public comments. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to the consent item. It's a fairly large consent calendar. Do we have any questions about it? No? I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion, please.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Can we get the roll, please, on the consent?
Yes. Director Sailors.
Aye.
Director Gould.
Aye.
Director Stark.
Aye.
Director Clark.
Aye.
Director Rice.
Aye.
Director Weber.
Aye.
Director Costa.
Aye.
President Wood.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. Consent calendar is adopted.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to our public hearing. This is the introduction and first reading of a proposed ordinance 25-01, the 2025 Fire Hazard Severity Zone Map. So I'm going to open the hearing and call up Acting Deputy Fire Marshal Schmidt, please. Welcome. Good evening.
Good evening, President Wood, directors, Chief Harms, and staff. My name is actually Dinah Schmidt. I am your new Deputy Fire Marshal as of this week. And per your agenda, it shows that we are presenting an introduction to the Fire Hazard Severity Zone Map adoption. What I wanted to do here tonight briefly is just give you a back history, kind of a summary of how we got here and why. The Fire Hazard Severity Zone Maps, they're not new. They were first introduced in 1985 per Government Code 51178. And that was basically the state fire marshal within this fire hazard severity had to, create fire hazard severity zones for state regulated areas only. So that would be the SRA. And then after we had a couple of pretty devastating fires, such as the Oakland Hills fire, that was determined that no longer did the government want to just provide that recommendations to state responsibility areas, but also wanted to exercise that throughout the LRA or local responsibility areas. So the state had to designate very high fire severity zones within the LRA. Then what changed and how did we get here tonight to apply to Metro Fire? There was the Tubbs fire, as we know, in Santa Rosa. We really didn't think a devastating fire could happen like that in normal residential neighborhoods. Obviously it did. It was extremely impactful. It burned over 5,600 structures and really was attributed to the terrain, high winds, and our changing climate. So the state was then required through AB 211 to apply the fire hazard severity zone maps to the LRAs that had areas designated as moderate or high fire severity. As you can imagine, trying to develop and create a model for what areas throughout the entire state within LRAs that had moderate and high fire severity zones took a really long time. It took a couple of years. The factors that were considered in the model were terrain, weather, urban vegetation, blowing embers, and what that would do over, how that would change over a 50-year period. So these are very long projections, which is why when the maps finally were created, they took a phased approach, and there was about 4 different phases for release through the state to the LRAs. Ours was finally released on, I believe it was March 10th of this year. And with the ordinance as part of the Assembly bill for the adoption, we actually have to adopt it within 120 days of its release on March 10th. So with that, this was the map that was released. We also had to have it up for public comment and view within 30 days of our maps being released. So fortunately, with the great team we have here, with Jake Wieland and IT, we were able to get this map, and specifically with Metro Fire's boundaries, put onto our website. We created a response output for the public. We have a phone reporting line and also a reporting line on our website where public comment can be received. As of a half an hour ago, we still have not received any public comments regarding the maps. What does this map mean to us? The yellow areas, those are the designated as moderate. You can see we do have 2 very small islands, I would call them, of high fire severity zone. One of them is in the corner of, let's see, where was that at? It was, I think, down the corner of like Florin and, I got it here, pardon my notes. I would say it was down Florin and down the Vineyard, and another one is just north of North White Rock Road. We cannot change those severity zones, so even as development comes in, as homes are built, or as any of the actual physical changes are made to it, we cannot alter the maps in terms of reducing the hazard declaration. What is the restrictions of the designations? The state responsibility area, or SRA, that's listed. There's a lot more regulations that are applied. Within the LRA, it's significantly less. Because we do have moderate areas, we do have to adopt this as ordinance. And then also within the high fire severity zone, so those 2 islands that we have, there may be some new construction regulations applied to them, which is the Chapter 7A that you see there. The state is still working out how we apply those regulations, but what it could potentially mean is a new development coming in. They may have to have a Class A roof or some sort of additional construction requirements. Once again, that's still being vetted by the state in terms of how they want to apply that to the high fire severity zones, because there is some current code contradictory language to that. So the adoption process, as I mentioned earlier, the maps were released on March 10th. We did post them for public comment on our webpage, created a kind of a landing page specifically for this with general questions, information. There's the outlined map there with Metro Fire's jurisdiction. Jake did a great job of creating kind of a searchable parameters where you can enter your address and get what information where your zone falls. And then we've already drafted the draft ordinance, which is within your package. And then this evening we are doing the first reading, hearing of it, so that in 2 weeks we can go ahead with the second reading and get it adopted before that 120 days requirement. And so in consideration of this public hearing and introduction of ordinance 2025-01 by title only, staff is recommending actually waiving this first reading and proceeding with a scheduled second reading, which is for adoption on June 12th to adopt the ordinance 2025-01, thereby adopting the 2025 fire hazard severity zone maps. Any additional questions?
Thank you so much. I'm glad to hear that Jake got in on the address details, because I know CAL FIRE's website does do that. You can put in that address and we'll take you right to where your what impacts your property. So it's good to hear we're doing that as well for our people. I saw Director Gould down here.
Ma'am, can you go back to the slide that shows us the map?
Yes, sir.
So you say we have these two islands. The one
Yes.
down in the southwest corner of our organization, you said these two islands, I think that
Yes.
was your word, we can't do anything about.
Correct. Yeah, we addressed them. We asked if it is developed, is there a way we can get that fire hazard severity zone reduced? And that is expressly stated. We are not legally permitted to do that under any petitioning whatsoever. We can only raise them. So within our availability through this adoption process is we can, through a very rigorous process and through a lot of determination and modeling, we can then say, we want our district to be a very high fire severity zone. That is our only avenue.
Okay, so let me just see if I got this right. Because it's identified as high, there's all these additional requirements that have to be completed by anybody that wants to own, build, do anything. In addition, is there some kind of also an impact on our response modeling, knowing that this is a high area of risk? Does that impact our operations as far as what, equipment and personnel we have around the area? I'm just trying to think, how is it that it's identified and then king in a corner, wherever, whoever's telling you this says, and by the way, if it changes, you can't do squat about it. I would love to see us help the owners and who's down there develop it to where it's no longer a high fire risk, and then we petition to have it removed as an island from our organization because of all of the downstream impacts that has. And you're saying, sorry, Oz at the state has said, sorry, you can't do that.
Correct. Yeah, that was the models, they're really what's designed, they're not identifying new hazards. We know our hazards within our district. We know where we have grasslands, where we have change of elevation. These models are not, and maps are not changing our response because we already know our hazards and what that exists. It's really more of a notification and not necessarily a wake-up call, but just starting the conversation for our residents to say this hazard exists. If you look at Santa Rosa, a lot of those people, they didn't know that risk occurred. So it's more for notification for the
So
public.
if the property owner gets notified of this, I think it'd be common that their insurance would go up.
We have actually been assured by the state insurance commissioner. We have that information on our website. We've been assured in writing that these maps are what are called hazard maps. So they are looking at, as I said, there's nothing that the homeowner can do to decrease their risk. It's terrain, it's wind, it's things that they cannot inherently change. So it's measuring the hazard. Insurance rates apply to risk, which allows the homeowner to make modifications, to change their roof construction type to where they're able to have some sort of input to lower their risk versus the hazard. So that's supposed to be two completely different models in terms of determining insurance rates.
Thank you.
Director Stark. Regarding those two spots, do we know what factors are causing them to be rated higher?
All the information we've gotten is extremely vague. They said the weather models were based upon weather conditions such as terrain, flame length, local weather, and fuel potential over a 50-year period. And that is a quote, which is why I wrote it down, because I knew this question would come up. There really isn't any sort of detailed parameters that they laid out what their models specifically identified these two areas. And I personally didn't see much of a difference between the adjacent corners. That southern island, it is at the corner of Bradshaw and Florin, and there's there's no difference in the terrain from the adjacent areas.
Do they periodically reevaluate these areas?
They do. These original maps were, I think, 25 years old, so they do not frequently, but they do occasionally. But if I can't see ours changing much, except that if there's another major fire that occurs in a flatter area than Santa Rosa, it may potentially will probably increase then decrease.
I just note that in the more developed areas of our district, there is no hazard or even moderate hazard, meaning that the development probably took a lot of the fire load out of that area. And we could anticipate that a lot of these areas, including those areas as they become developed, will not be as hazardous in the future.
I would hope the state will reevaluate them as, California Development and Building is going out. A lot of the Central Valley has these grass areas they're looking at the terrain and the fuel that will change it. Hopefully there's a lot of pressure to reevaluate them more frequently to decrease the hazard, but that would once again be up to the state. Thank you.
Director Sailors.
Correct. It is under, should be metrofire.ca.gov, and then under the residents, it should say fire hazard severity zones under that tab.
Not finding it.
It was, definitely was searching for it yesterday. It's maybe the second or third from the bottom? No?
I'm seeing residents.
Right there.
Okay, yeah, I put my glasses on, thank you.
Stress test.
Director Costa.
Thank you. So just so I'm clear, this, we've already taken into consideration the risk, so our standard of cover doesn't change.
Correct.
The next slide, you mentioned some code conflicts.
The state has, 7A is the WUI standard, the Wildland Urban Interface Standard, and some of the newer code, some of the new references to adopting these hazards, it doesn't, there's, the way they define, there's a section that says that the WUI standards only apply to very high fire severity zones.
Okay.
And then there's another section of code that says high fire severity zones. So those two haven't come into compliance yet. There is a state committee that is working at the language, taking this chapter 7A of the International WUI Code and making it into a California code that will clear up that language. And so we're waiting with bated breath for that,
Okay.
that clarification.
Great, thank you.
And one of the other things, just to follow up on some of the things that have been said already, one of the follow-ups that come along with these maps is the potential future use of home hardening regulations, Zone 0. As I understand it, there's also the potential for eligibility for different grants and programs based on where you fall within the zone maps under the state assignment. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, can you rephrase the question?
Yeah, is it correct that you're going to have, or that people in these high zones, moderate and high zones, will have additional access down the road to various state programs that'll help them deal with home hardening and Zone 0 requirements that are coming down the road?
That's definitely the hopes, that it's to be able to apply, you know, if these are state regulations, state requirements. A lot of the WUI standards are all, you know, more of CAL FIRE based because they've had to be dealing with this for quite a bit longer. So those programs are available for them. There's going to be a lot of information in terms of, as these, you know, maps are getting more and more attention by the public, which is really what it's for, is public awareness, that, you know, we can be able to direct them to establishing fire-wise and fire-safe communities, which actually will, in turn, decrease their insurances. So all of these resources, through basically notification and just public knowledge, will then be available through those kind of avenues that have already existed.
So once adopted, these maps, this program isn't going to cost us anything further.
Zero.
That's okay. Moving over to public comment. Do you have anyone that wants to comment on this one?
Yes, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience or online that wishes to speak on this item? If you're online, please use the raise your hand feature. No response, no public comments.
All right, we'll close the public hearing then and move on to board action on this one. If we can get a motion and a second on staff's recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
I need to read the ordinance title, just the title first before we go into the vote. An ordinance of the Sacramento Metropolitan Fire District Board of Directors adopting the 2025 Fire Hazard Severity Zone Map as recommended by the California State Fire Marshal.
So moved.
Got a motion and a second. If you'd call the roll, please.
Great. Director Sailors?
Aye.
Director Gould?
Aye.
Director Stark?
Aye.
Director Clark?
Aye.
Director Rice?
Aye.
Director Weber?
Aye.
Director Costa?
Aye.
President Wood?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. This item will come back for adoption at our next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move on then to our action items. We have two. The first is to adopt a resolution, contract award recommendation. Assistant Chief Kylie Keeley, welcome. Good evening.
President Wood, Board of Directors, Chief House, friends and colleagues. Thank you. I'm Kylie Keeley, Metro Fire's Chief of EMS. Wanted to thank you for the opportunity to present the recommendation for our 911 ambulance services contract. On December 31st, 2024, our purchasing division issued RFP 24-07 to secure a qualified contractor to supplement Metro Fire's emergency medical services. The goal was to ensure reliable, high-quality ambulance services for our community while maintaining fiscal responsibility. The RFP required a minimum of 10 dedicated 12-hour ALS ambulances operating 7 days a week, totaling 43,800 hours annually. The contractor must also provide surge units during times of high call volume or resource shortages to ensure uninterrupted services. Through our e-procurement portal, open.gov, we received proposals from 2 firms, Falck, Northern California Corporation, and American Medical Response. A committee of 2 internal and 2 external EMS experts evaluated the proposals based on the following criteria: organizational qualifications, patient care approach, resource adaptability, system adaptability, past performance, and a fee proposal. AMR emerged as the highest scoring proposer, demonstrating superior capability and alignment with our needs. The proposed contract with AMR spans 3 years with options for 2 additional 12-month extensions. The fee schedule sees a 5.5% increase for the first year, then a 4.75% increase for the next 2 years. This is followed by the optional years 4 and 5 with 5.2% increases each year. Now keep in mind, EMS fees collected post-response will offset these costs, enhancing fiscal efficiency. Importantly, through diligent negotiation, we reduced AMR's initial proposed rates, saving the district over $1 million over the full contract term. Staff recommends the board adopt a resolution to award the contract to AMR and authorize the fire chief or his designee to execute and administer the agreement, including any optional extensions. AMR's proven performance, ability to provide surge capacity, and competitive pricing ensure we will maintain high-quality emergency services while protecting taxpayer resources. Upon approval, the contract will take effect July 1st, 2025, ensuring no lapse in service. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Chief. Do we have any comments or questions for Chief Keeley on this? Director Gould.
First, I'll make the recommendation that we adopt staff's recommendation. Second, I want to thank the folks that run the e-portal. They did a very good job of responding to questions in a very timely manner, so I think that process has got some proof behind it. It's good. I had multiple dialogues with some folks, and I think that was very helpful, so thank you for that part of it. But I'm glad that the experts were in the room and were able to chew into this and give us a good deal out of that. And whoever saved us $1 million gets a gold medal tonight, because that's a pretty big chunk of change, so thank you very much for that. We certainly can use that in other areas, but thank you very much, Chief, and I make that recommendation. He saved us $1 million. Chief, excellent. Please find a gold medal somewhere.
I got
I'll
one.
second.
I've got a motion for staff's recommendation and a second from Director Clark. Would you call the roll, please?
Director Sailors.
Aye.
Director Gould.
Aye.
Director Stark.
Aye.
Director Clark.
Aye.
Director Rice.
Aye.
Director Weber.
Aye.
Director Costa.
Aye.
President Wood.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you very
Thank-
much, Chief.
Thank you. And before I leave, I wanted to thank Metro Fire's purchasing agent, Courtney Moore, for her attention to detail, her professional guidance during the process, and her expertise. And I also wanted to thank the 4 evaluators, whom I won't name, for their detailed review of the proposal. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, move on to our second action item. It's a resolution for Measure O, the General Obligation Bond Financing Plan. This has got a few presenters. Looks like Dave O'Toole, you're starting off.
I'll take the lead.
And Bobby Chung, welcome. It's good to see you in person this time. We have Dave Leifer or Brian Quint? Okay. All right, Dave.
Certainly, I'll start us off here. Good evening, Mr. Chair, board members, colleagues, and members of the public. For this action item, our municipal advisor will be presenting the financing plan for Measure O. And before I turn it over to Bobby, I do want to recognize the financing team that is here. Brian Quint, our disclosure and bond counsel, right there, thank you, Bob. Brian, Brian actually worked with us on the Measure O itself too, so he's been with us a little while. And then Bobby will introduce himself in a second, and then your internal team would be on the project side, Jeff Fry and Aaron Castleberry, and then the controller Ron Empedrad and myself. So that's who's here tonight, and with that, I'll turn it over to Bobby.
Thank you. Good evening, President Wood, members of the board, Fire Chief House. I am very happy to be here in person this time, following up on my presentation 2 weeks ago. As your CFO stated, I am here to give a brief update about the plan of finance, provide our estimates of the current market conditions, and seek the board's approval for the financing resolution. Do I use this to advance? Okay. Great. This first slide, as a quick reminder, my role here as your municipal advisor is really to, sit on your side of the table and represent your best interests as you interface with the bond market. So, that's my job, is to watch out for your best interests as we go through this process. This next slide is a summary of the key terms of the first series of bonds that will be issued under the Measure O authorization. On the right here, you have a sources and uses table where the total sources equals the total uses, and the sources are comprised of the bond par amount that we will be selling, $160 million. As a function of the pricing of tax-exempt municipal bonds, investors will likely pay you a premium upfront, and that goes towards the total sources. In terms of uses, the vast majority of the uses will be for the various projects authorized under your measure. Based on these estimates, about $158 million and change. And it will go towards paying the various cost of issuance, my fee, the bond counsel fee, rating agency fees, and also the underwriter discount, which is the actual broker that will facilitate the flow of cash from their investors to your district. And that debt service fund line item is exactly equal to the amount of the bond premium that we will be anticipating receiving. Your transaction, we've structured annual principal payments each August, starting with August 1 of 26, semi-annual payments, semi-annual interest payments, so interest payments every 6 months, each February and August, starting February 1 of 26. And it is anticipated that your bonds will price via a competitive sale. So in a couple of weeks, when we get the credit rating and finalize the disclosure document, we'll put this bid, we'll put your bond up for bid, and we'll invite the universe of broker-dealer firms to submit a competitive interest rate and underwriter's discount. And that combination will form a true interest cost that will be your borrowing rate. So our best guess of that true interest cost based on, current market conditions is about 4.46%, but that hasn't been locked in yet. That will be locked in when we actually do the competitive sale in a couple weeks. And finally, an important point on this page is that these bonds will be sold with a 10-year optional call provision. So in 10 years, if interest rates are lower at that time, you could refinance the bonds and save your residents a bit of money on their tax bill. Okay, the second slide, or slide 3, is the structure for this first bond that we will be selling. It is a level debt service structure for a term of 30 years, the blue being the principal, the orange being the interest. And again, these are preliminary numbers that will be finalized once we actually price the bonds. And our plan and timing is such that this will be on the fiscal year 25-26 tax roll for both Sacramento and Placer counties. Our best guess right now is that the tax rate will be about $11.30 per $100,000 of assessed value after the issuance of this first series of bonds. And as you know, this is only a portion of the authorization. It's anticipated that the remainder of the authorization will be sold in subsequent bond issuances in the future. And so the last time I spoke before your board, I showed you, I think, 4 or 5 different bond structures. This, I think, was like option 3, which is staff's recommendation. So it's basically stacking on 3 bond transactions of level debt service over time. So your residents will experience a growing tax rate with each bond issuance, and then gradually a decrease in the tax rate over time. Okay, this next slide is just a summary of the progress that has been made to date and a snapshot of what will be coming up in the next 2 to 4 weeks. Your staff and your team of professionals have worked to draft the various sets of documents that are up for approval tonight. We will be meeting with the credit rating agencies, Standard & Poor's and Fitch Ratings, next week. And it's anticipated that we will receive the credit rating shortly thereafter. And our plan is to actually price the bonds in mid-June and close the first week of July. And that is when the district will receive the money. Okay. This next slide is a snapshot of an index of a 20-year interest rate. And this goes all the way back to the start of year 2000. And as you can see, I think, you know, folks are generally aware that interest rates very recently have been pretty volatile in terms of what's been going on in the market. Rates have increased, and the last time I spoke before your board, right, it was particularly volatile about 4 weeks before that. And in the last couple of weeks, really the last month, we've seen a lot of stability return to the market, which is very good. You can't see it, but that blue line all the way to the right, it's actually kind of leveling out. So that's what we want to see. You know, we don't want to enter the bond market when there's a lot of volatility. We like a nice, stable market. And so that's what we've experienced, at least over the course of the last 4 weeks. Okay. So what are we asking from your board this evening? We're asking you to adopt a resolution that will basically approve a set of parameters, not to exceed parameters, not to exceed par amount of $160 million, not to exceed true interest cost of 7% to give us some cushion, and to delegate to staff the authority to basically complete the bond transaction. The other documents here, the paying agent agreement, the preliminary official statement, which is the disclosure document, the official notice of sale and the notice of intention, those help facilitate the competitive sale, and the continuing disclosure certificate, that's a contract that you make with your future investors promising to provide credit information on an ongoing basis. And then the second resolution is to approve a policy for disclosure procedures, which we and your bond counsel think is a good practice when you enter into debt, to have a good set of disclosure procedures adopted. I think that wraps up my presentation. Oh yeah, the appendix has our detailed estimates in terms of the true interest cost, the cost of issuance, and the total debt service over time. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you very much. Do you have any questions for Mr. Chung?
I do have a quick question.
Director Costa.
Actually, it's for Dave. So I think the slide is a summary of the GEO-bond structure, and so this is staff's recommendation. Can you talk through staff's rationale for the recommendation?
Certainly. The option that we provided is, as you saw, it starts at $11.30. It's one of the lowest of the options. Part of the thinking was to be conscious of the tax burden of the district, and then ramp up that way. The next, what it showed is that it started at $11.30, and then the highest it got was about $25 after 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 the third issuance. Yeah, thank you, the third issuance. So another option was that a close second was also starting that, but the tax burden reached up to over $30. So that had an overall lower cost, but the way the cost rose overall, we determined that we wanted to be conscious of the tax burden. And that's why we selected that one. It has a level payment as well, so there's some stability there for the people who are paying the bills.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Anything further?
That is staff's recommendation to adopt the two resolutions, and respectfully appreciate that.
I do have Director Gold here.
Thanks for the presentations. It helps us understand all the math. The other thing is, I think it just goes without saying, we constantly have to thank our citizenry for the trust they put in this organization to allow us to even have this conversation tonight. I mean, I don't think any of us really understand the impact this is going to have for this agency for decades to come. And we wouldn't be having this conversation if it wasn't for the men and for the citizens who looked at their future debt and said it was worth going into that debt, or at least paying that fee, so that we could improve the quality of our organization and the responses that we do. We know we do really great now. I hope we all understand that in a decade, we're going to be doing stuff that nobody else can do in the entire country. So thank you to the men and women, or the citizens who have decided that this is worth it. It's a risk to them. It's an increased burden in taxes, and California has some of the lowest in the country, right? Anyway, you get my point, is I think we really want to make sure that all of those in our district understand we are grateful, absolutely stunned by the trust that you all have put in us. And at least it's my commitment that we will do everything with the team to make sure that every single dollar is well thought out and spent in an appropriate way, because we promised that in the ballot. And so thank you for all your attention to detail. I can't wait to see the Citizens Oversight Committee and all the work that we will ask them to participate in. And then the men and women to use this gift in a way that impacts patient care and responses in an appropriate way, because there is no other department that I'm aware of that was given this gift. It's bigger than Christmas. It's just that big a deal to our organization. And I couldn't go without, and voting this without saying to them, thank you for even allowing us to have this opportunity. It's a pretty big deal to me, and I am sure to all my colleagues. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Director Gold. Anything further? All right, well, we do have to take this up. There's two different motions, two different
Yes.
recommendations. The first one is for the resolution of the Board of Directors of the Sacramento Metropolitan Fire District, authorizing the issuance and sale of the district's general obligation bonds, election of 2024, Series A, 2025, in an amount not to exceed $160 million. So do I have a motion on that resolution?
Chairman, I will move that.
A motion from Director Clark and a second by Director Costa. Can we get the roll, please?
Yes. Director Sailors.
Aye.
Director Gould.
Aye.
Director Stark.
Aye.
Director Clark. Director Rice.
Aye.
Director Weber.
Aye.
Director Costa. President Wood.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Next is the resolution of the Board of Directors of the Sacramento Metropolitan Fire District approving a disclosure procedure. Do I have a motion on that resolution?
I'll move it.
I've got a motion from Director Stark and a second from Director Weber. Can we get the roll, please?
Yes. Director Sailors.
Aye.
Director Gould.
Aye.
Director Stark.
Aye.
Director Clark. Director Rice.
Aye.
Director Weber.
Aye.
Director Costa.
Aye.
President Wood.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. The resolutions are adopted.
Mr. O'Toole, thank you so much for all your work and your team's work. Everyone, appreciate all the time and effort you guys have put into this, and I can't echo what Director Gold said any better, so thank you. All right. So we'll move on to reports. I have no report at this time. Fire Chief's report. Chief House, good evening.
Good evening, directors, colleagues, members of the public. Please join me in first welcoming some new hires. Jack Bergen was hired to the position of fire mechanic in the fleet division. I know Shay's extremely happy. He was effective May 1st. And the following members were hired to the position of reserve firefighter effective May 6th. And I think some of them are in the audience, so if I can ask them to come up to the podium, introduce themselves. But they are Bradley Rankin, Dylan Rector, Ashley Salazar, Kaylin Segura, and Shane Smith. And I think two of them are here. Maybe more. If you can come up and say hi, introduce yourself to the board, that would be great.
All right. Good evening, President Wood, Board of Directors, Fire Chief House. I am Reserve Firefighter Charles Segura. I'm a veteran of 8 years of the United States Air Force. Had the opportunity to serve as an aerospace medical technician. Yeah, new to the fire service. Very excited to becoming proficient as a reserve firefighter and eventually moving into a career as a firefighter if given the opportunity.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Hello, I am Fire Reserve Dylan Rector. Just got on with the Fire Reserves, had my first fire call today, right before this, so came from the station to here. I did fire technology in Del Campo. I have my fire tech degree at ARC. Professor Gould, I took one of your classes in high school. It's all right, it's an online one, so.
Even more sorry.
But yeah, I'm very thankful for this opportunity, and that's all I got to say.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board, Fire Chief House, members of the community, colleagues, and everything. My name is Shane Smith. I'm a new reserve firefighter with Metro Fire. Just want to say thank you for the opportunity and everything. It's amazing how far I've gone. Spent like a little past over a year with CERT, so volunteering, working my way up and everything. Can't wait to serve alongside the community and alongside you all. So thank you, and I look forward to the opportunities and everything that comes with this.
Welcome. Welcome aboard.
And congratulations to Diana Smith. I know she's here in the room. The agenda was sent out before her appointment, so that's why it reflected out of class, but she was promoted to Deputy Fire Marshal effective May 19th. And Diana's been a member of this agency for a long time, and I look forward to all the professional work she continues to do. So thank you. And congratulations, Diana. And congratulations to Joe Farica for being appointed to Deputy Chief effective May 12th, and he is assigned to the administration branch.
Outstanding.
And for all of you that went to cap, I want to read a letter, and I think you'll certainly appreciate it. And once I start reading it, you'll know why it was sent to me. And I got it before you all returned. That's how fast and how important this was. And she's not going to want this recognition, but she certainly deserves it. So this was dated May 5th, 2025, and Dear Chief House, we are writing to express gratitude to the Sacramento Metropolitan Fire District for having Erin Castleberry lead our team and recognize her excellence in service and leadership. We are co-leads with Erin on the Wildfire and Forest Health team for this year's program. This is a newer team in its only second year that is still developing purpose and framework. Being her first year on the team, Erin volunteered to have a strong role as a co-leader, and we welcome that in hope of fresh ideas. Erin masterfully used her social organizational skills, critical thinking, and interpersonal skills to focus on our team's purpose and add clarity and simplicity to our federal platform. She has a certain quiet leadership. I don't know if that's true. We'll call it quiet. Quiet leadership about her that fosters confidence and trust. The team members responded very well to that. Erin also accepted the burden of workload associated with this role and always delivered on time and with grace. This year's Cap to Cap program was made better by Erin's excellence in service and leadership on this important team. Signed sincerely, Anthony Ferenzi, Placer County Water Agency Director of Strategic Affairs, and Eric White, Placer County Air Pollution Control District Air Pollution Control Officers. Aaron, I couldn't be more proud of you, and you represent this organization so well, not only today, yesterday, but I know in the future. And it's a pleasure to have you here and be around you every day. Congratulations and thank you. And that's the end of my report, unless you have questions for me.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the chief? I just want to add, follow up on your last item. It's very important for people to understand the value of cap to cap. The relationships and the work that Aaron did that we just heard about with Placer County, and how that translates in with the federal government, but also all the years that we've been going back and the results that we've seen coming out of it. In particular, in my head, I think of watching Captain Perryman, well, then Captain Perryman, back in 16, 17, back there. All the work he did to get MIH up and off the ground, and the successes that we're having today are in no small part to the work we did back then. So it is a very worthwhile expense and use of our time and money. So thanks for keeping that going, Chief.
Absolutely.
All right, moving on, we got operations report, out of class AC Sean Daly. Welcome, good day.
Good evening, directors, chief, everybody out there. I'll keep this fairly brief as far as the operations go. I think it's suffice to say summer is here. We've been pretty busy regardless of whether the wind's blowing from the north or from the south. Our men and women out there are definitely putting in the work. So we've had numerous grass fires and structure fires, especially commercial structure fires, seemingly in Battalion 7 more than anywhere else. But they're out there doing it, and they're doing a great job. I also wanted to give you a quick update regarding our behavioral health response. This week, we implemented some new changes in our reporting system. A couple weeks ago, I talked to you guys about some of the changes that were coming, and I'm happy to report that they are in place, and now we are able to better gather data on which law enforcement agencies are responding or not responding. And we're also collecting data on the backside of why they are not responding, if they give us a reason, and who it is that is making that decision on their side as well. So 2 weeks ago, we were only able to tell you how many calls they were requested and how many calls they didn't come on, but we couldn't tell you exactly which agency that was supporting us or not supporting us. So hopefully 2 weeks from now when we come back, we'll have some more specific data on that. So happy to answer any questions you might have on that topic.
Any questions for Chief Daly? No? All right, thank you very much. Appreciate
End of my
that.
report. Thank you.
President, if I can add on to the operational report a little bit about the mental health and sheriff's lack thereof response. You asked us about not going to certain calls, and I took that to heart. I had a meeting with all the county chiefs today, and I made a motion on the floor that we direct Executive Director Derek Parker of the Comm Center to get with legal and find out from their lens on where we can go and cut off these calls prior to coming to our stations for dispatch. We need to fix this on the front end, not the back end. So we're working in collaboration. Chief Daly and Chief Mitchell were also on that call. We made sure that we were working in coordination, but I had unanimous support from all the rest of the county chiefs to provide that direction. And that direction was given today to Derek Parker to go investigate that. He's going to report back. We're going to have a special meeting, and we're not going to wait for another scheduled meeting to take action on this. If the attorneys all say that we can decrease calls in that area, we are going to take action on that. So that's in direct reflection to your comments. I just wanted to advise you of that today. That happened this morning.
Appreciate that responsiveness. Chief, any comments? No? Okay. All right, I have it on good authority that we have no administrative report or support services report. So we'll move on to Firefighters Local 522. Captain Schollard, welcome. Good evening.
Good evening, Board of Directors, Chief House, colleagues, members of the public. Sean Schollard, Vice President, Local 522, Captain here at Metro Fire. First and foremost, congratulations to all the new hires and recent promotions. Great job in the process, Diana and Janae. I don't know if I can say that. I'll look at Melissa. I think it's appropriate. What was impressive about that process and just sitting in, being a union observer, is the positive feedback from both candidates. The fact that that it was going to be a difficult decision, whoever the choice was. I think that's great that we have that type of talent in this organization, that we have to make a tough choice between two people competing for one spot. So congratulations to you. I did listen to some of the subtle remarks about your desire to work with labor on some issues that you have, and I look forward to meeting with you on that now that we can talk about that officially. So let's see. Last week, I had a professional and personal embarrassment that I have to share with all of you. That was one of the first times that I was embarrassed to be a representative of Metro Fire. I felt like we had an obligation, and I thought that we were working at high-level collaboration on an issue with one of our city partners. Rancho Cordova City Council had a budget meeting that we showed up to on the labor side. We expected management to be there, and they were not. And as a result of that, not only was I personally attacked, but our local was personally attacked. Our local was accused of padding labor positions, coming with an agenda that wasn't supported by administration, which was not true at all. It was a support. That was collaborative efforts put forth. There was very specific questions asked of council that could not be answered as a result of this organization not being there. Questions specific to operations, budget, things that I had no business answering. But I was asked to get up and speak on behalf of it to try and elaborate a little bit more. I actually had city council members tell me before the meeting that there's a 0% chance that we get anything. We walked away out of there having our ass cut in half. There was a significant opportunity left on the table, and it's very frustrating. It's frustrating for so many reasons. All of these efforts that we put in, especially outside capital, political capital, friendships, relationships that we work on for years to see something come to fruition, that's embarrassing. We work very hard and we take that stuff very, very seriously. I can't understand any reason why this agency wasn't there. I don't think any excuse is acceptable. High-level collaboration is definitely in question right now. I don't think that we can continue to leave ourselves exposed to the vulnerability and criticism to our neighboring agencies or outside the parameters of Metro Fire. Just because the wheels fall off the bus doesn't mean we quit going to school, though. We have to continue some sort of collaboration, and we see some of those efforts that are being put in through the training division. We had a very productive meeting at the training division and talking about health, wellness, and training. Talking about some of the things that we can do to get our members the best treatment that they can. But one of the things that I see constantly over the last 2 weeks is we don't have the funding to do these. Well, we just threw away almost $1 million last week. So when I hear that we don't have the funding to do these things, and there isn't a high emphasis of importance put on some of these external revenue sources that we're seeking out, partnerships and collaboration, it's very frustrating. Now we have to dig deep, and we have to come up with a way to figure out how to bridge the gap, find $825,000 to make this thing work. And if we do, I would suspect that there's people in this room, division managers, division leads, that are gonna say, I just got told I didn't have money in the budget for my ask, my position authorization request in my division. How do we explain that? It's not a good look for this organization at all. It's very frustrating. We're gonna have to reevaluate our commitment to the membership. I think we owe it to them to put a focus back on them. Put in the effort where we see it pay dividends. Focus on negotiations coming up. Engage with them a little bit more. But we're having to take a step back and really reevaluate. And maybe the collaboration comes with all of you at the board of directors. Maybe that's where we need to focus our attention. If there's something that needs to get done and there's a partnership outside of Metro Fire, it's in your jurisdiction, maybe we talk to you. And maybe you can see that it gets done the right way. We had a great trip in cap to cap. I had opportunities to meet with electeds from cities that we don't have the best relationship with. And not in a negative way, just ones that we haven't engaged in. And got to speak to them about some of the partnerships and unique creative options that we're doing with Rancho. They were very intrigued. They want to have meetings and sit down and see what that looks like for them. I can tell you, I'm not interested in doing that now. I don't want to tell them how this worked out, where we're at right now. Forward progress has come to a stop. It's unfortunate. And it doesn't take away from all the positive things that people are doing. Like I said in my What Up Wednesday video that I put out last night, I think it's important for all the members here that are doing a great job to look in the mirror, give themselves a pat on the back. We do a great job. The men and women out there every day, no matter what division they're in, whether it's support services, ASP, suppression, they do a great job. They find a way to dig deep and keep getting the job done. And for that, I'm grateful, and I'm happy to represent them. But I'll leave you with that.
Any comments, questions for?
I've got a question.
Costa?
Captain Scholar, for clarity, the ask that was put forward to Ranch Cordova, was that a Metro ask? Or was that a different ask? Just for clarity.
Yes, the ask came from Metro Fire.
Okay. And what we're hearing is we weren't present as an agency to discuss that ask.
No. The ask was for $1.65 million to fund Squad 61 services within Rancho Cordova.
The ask was for one, so. Correct, and this was 2 years in the making as we reflect back to Measure O, or Measure H and R with the city of Rancho Cordova. This has been collaboration lately, probably to the extreme. I would love to talk to Vice President Scholar offline about his concerns, but this was a ask that was in collaboration based on 2 years in the making over a special bond that Rancho Cordova has. We've met several times with Rancho Cordova, their leadership and their executives, or I mean their electeds. It was for enhanced services of a squad with a grass rig for firefighter salary for 1 year. Out of that budget meeting, they chose, and that was a letter signed by me, in collaboration with 522. They had a chance to review that letter. And in that budget workshop, they had questions over it about, from their individual sources of staffing concerns, like you just said. And ultimately, they decided that they would fund that at 50% for the first year, is what that looks like.
Any other comments, questions?
Well, Mr. Chair, I would just say it sounds like we need to have additional opportunities to have a good discussion as electeds. However you guys can make that work as the executive team, I'd appreciate that happening.
Yeah, that's something that had been brought up as far as possibly being put on an executive committee agenda in the future, but it sounds like rather than we should skip the executive committee and go straight to the full board. You don't need us to report to you what we did 15 minutes earlier.
Cool.
But that would be my preference, that we do a full board discussion on it. All right, any other comments or questions? All right, Captain, thank you.
Thank you.
And moving on, Executive Committee, as you heard, we may be having a meeting shortly. So I'll let you guys know. Otherwise, unless I hear otherwise, I think this might be better just brought to the full board and skip us three entirely, unless there's a great heartache about that process.
I agree.
Marnie, would you be able to get that on the agenda then, a discussion on that issue? All right, thank you. All right, so moving on, Comm Center JPA, we have no report. Finance and Audit Committee met today. Director Weber, I believe you're, Director Stark.
Yes, Director Jones was unable to attend today, so I chaired on her behalf. We had two presentation items, which will be coming to the full board shortly, I'm sure. One is on the capital improvement program plan, and the other was on the preliminary budget. And our next meeting is June 26th.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions for Director Stark? All right, moving on, Policy Committee, Director Costa.
Thank you. Nothing to report. Our next meeting is scheduled for June 12th.
Thank you very much. Moving on to board member questions and comments. I'll start to my right with Director Sailors.
Thank you, President Wood. I would just like to congratulate all of the new hires. Welcome to Metro Fire. The new reserves, welcome. And I will be seeing you out there in September for Rio Linda's Country Fair, probably. And the newly promoted, congratulations. And that's it for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Sailors. Moving on to Director Rice.
Congratulations, Chief Farika. I'm trying to think, you spent your first day as a firefighter with me as my first day as a captain, and that's got to be coming up, right? The anniversary of that, July?
July 1st, yes.
How many years?
33 since that day.
Dang. Congratulations, Joe. Contained.
Thank you very much. Director Gould?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks for the reports tonight. They were fantastic, and it's such a great thing. I'd like to also make sure that that letter was fantastic. Those of us that had the blessing of going to cap also need to make sure the community understands. In addition to all the work that she did in regards to setting up, she had to deal with us. That's a whole nother letter, right? So kudos to you in that regard. One final thing, it appears to me that we have some young public members in the audience tonight who probably need something signed. I would love to have you meet President Wood. He'll be more than happy to do that. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate it.
Throw me under the bus. Thanks, Director Gould.
It's a school bus.
Director Clark.
No comment. I just echo the sentiments of my colleagues on this board.
Thank you very much. Director Weber?
I have no comments, thank you.
Director Costa?
Thank you. I'll just say a lot of great reports tonight, a lot of great information, and we're doing a lot of great work. But I also think there's some things that we just need to make sure as a board we're aware of and working towards. So thank you.
Thank you. And I have nothing to add to that. We will adjourn this meeting and look forward to seeing you all again on June 12th at 6 o'clock. Thank you.